Big Brother contestant Vince Panaro has finally confessed his love for Morgan Pope. This is something fans have been waiting on all season. Even though it was not the right thing for him to do, fans could see it coming from a mile away. Vince does have a girlfriend back home. The two have been together for 7 years. However, that is more than likely going to end once he returns home. Keep reading to find out more about this. Morgan and Vince have been crossing way too many lines since the moment they decided to be an alliance in Big Brother. The two went to Los Angeles, California, to play the hit competition show. Vince revealed that he has been in a relationship for 7 years. However, this did not stop him and Morgan from crossing too many lines. The two would cuddle in bed, have lots of long talks, and so much more. Vince was seen kissing Morgan on the cheek one night and supposedly telling her that he loved her. However, Vince has convinced Morgan that his girlfriend Kelsey would not be mad about anything they have done. This obviously is a lie, as she has already unfollowed him on Instagram. Vince Panaro has finally confessed his love for Morgan Pope. He told her how he wanted to be in her life after the show was over. However, that was not all. "I just love you so much. I hope I have you outside of this game. You're the type of person I want in my life. That type of friend, that type of person who actually cares that deeply about people in their lives. I feel so happy that I have you competing with me. Sitting in the final 2 with you is my dream." Yikes. Kelsey is not going to be too happy seeing this. Fans find what he has done to be ridiculous. It seems as though Vince may not have meant it romantically. Vince Panaro arrived with a grin, a plan, and a public persona so polished it looked like it had been laminated. Morgan Pope arrived with the kind of easy laugh that could turn any late-night whisper into a secret that felt safe. Together on paper, they were a strategic pairing, brains and charm, social glue and subtle aggression. In practice, alliances have a way of evolving when the cameras are off and the house stops feeling like a set and starts feeling like a life. Vince and Morgan's alliance was the sort of thing fans live for. They were never coy about it, they were careful. They shared beds, because the house's cramped intimacy made sleeping arrangements a game piece, and they talked for hours about something that always began with a competition and slid, almost imperceptibly, into territory neither intended to name. The flirting was slow and measured at first. A brush of a hand while passing cereal, a lingering look over the poker table, the kind of small tenderness that, in the enclosed world of Big Brother, takes on the weight of grand declarations. Rumors started in the comment threads. Clips of the two cuddling circulated, and fans re-watched them the way detectives reread a confession. The producers loved it, the live feeders were in overdrive. It made for ratings. It made for whispers. It made for complications. Vince had been open in a practical way. When the cameras asked, he had a girlfriend back home. Kelsey. 7 years, he said, 7 years, which in the world outside the house translated to history, context, a life with roots. Inside the house, though, time had a different measure. Days were minutes. Minutes were decisions. 7 years became a number, the sort that could be counted and then set on the table like a poker chip to be bluffed away. Morgan wasn't looking for betrayal. She was looking for an ally who made her laugh and protected her in competitions and whispered strategy in the late hours. Vince's confession of a 7-year relationship should have been enough to set a boundary. Instead it became, for both of them, a complicated footnote. They told themselves, and each other, that they were just two players finding comfort where comfort could be found. But comfort in Big Brother is often a blurry line. The confession came on a night when the house felt smaller than ever. Rain slammed the windows, a rare storm that made the outdoor cameras seem unnecessary, and the game had eaten its last performance. A few of the house guests were in the kitchen, playing cards with a kind of concentration that pretended the world beyond the walls didn't exist. Vince and Morgan slipped out of the room together like a pair of shadows separating from a single body. They sat on the couch under the velvet glow of the late-night lamp. There was a quietness then, the kind that fills a room when the show's scripts are over and the raw human thing underneath wants to breathe. Vince's hands were a little less steady than usual. The game had been cruel to him all week, alliances shifting, threats at his name, and for the first time, his vulnerability wasn't strategic, it felt honest. "I just love you so much," he said, and the words fell heavy. "I hope I have you outside of this game. You're the type of person I want in my life. That type of friend, that type of person who actually cares that deeply about people in their lives. I feel so happy that I have you competing with me. Sitting in the final 2 with you is my dream." Morgan's breath hitched. There are many kinds of love inside the Big Brother house, and her mind mapped the terrain rapidly: friendship, affection, strategic camaraderie, the curious budding of something more. She wanted to believe, desperately, that the sentiment was rooted in the grief of the game, the loneliness of it, the shared victory fantasies that drive alliances into declarations. She also wanted, privately and guiltily, for it to be real. What followed was the kind of soft, slow falling that starts with cheek kisses and ends, sometimes, in devastation. Vince kissed Morgan on the cheek that night. It wasn't a cinematic lips-on-lips moment, it was a stolen punctuation mark in a sentence they both were still writing. Yet punctuation has consequences. Outside, life had its own cruel editing. Social media moved faster than the confessions that were being filmed for the eyes of millions. It wasn't long before the world outside the house started to react. Kelsey, if the house's internet sleuths were to be believed, unfollowed Vince on Instagram. In the coffee shops and group chats of the fandom, people lined up on sides as if the house's internal emotional weather had become an international incident. Back in the house, however, the players had to keep playing. Strategy meetings were held in the pantry, loyalties were assessed in the bathroom mirror. Vince and Morgan, now tangled, had to navigate not just their feelings but the implications those feelings had for the final outcome. Were they a threat together? Would the jury respect a pair who'd worn an alliance like a cloak and then cut it into something more intimate? Would the cameras be kind? The confession rippled. Some house guests treated it as a scandal, something to exploit, a way to fracture a pairing or to sow doubt. Others treated it with quiet distaste, arguing that the moral calculus of being in a relationship back home complicated the matter. The show, of course, ate it up. Producers knew that human drama was the currency of reality television. The confession moved from bedroom whisper to headline in a heartbeat. Morgan wrestled with her own conscience. She hadn't set out to be anyone's heartbreak, and she believed that within the house there existed a different rulebook, one that allowed for human closeness under pressure without tying it to the outside world's definitions. But when the cameras make your private moments public, you are no longer just a person. You are a signal sending news into networks, and the internet keeps score with likes and comments. Morgan felt the pull of empathy for the person she'd likely hurt, and the tension knotting her stomach when she thought of Kelsey, who'd been mentioned sometimes in casual conversations, the anchor to Vince's life that the house had blurred into an asterisk. Vince, for his part, began to oscillate between bravado and remorse. There were nights he recorded a confessional where the smile looked forced, and others where he admitted to himself that the lines he'd crossed were irreparable. He made arguments to himself like a lawyer framing a case: proximity, survival instinct, the emotional pressure cooker, and yet underneath all the logic was a primitive, honest desire to stay near Morgan when cameras were off and the house's imagined coldness felt less tolerable with her warmth beside him. Fans reacted in the ways fans do: compassion and fury, threads on Twitter that tried to map morality onto a soap opera-like narrative. Some defended Vince's humanity. "It's complicated," they wrote, as if complication were a defense. Some chastised him mercilessly. Others blamed Morgan, though she was the quieter of the two, the one whose social media reflected fewer dramatic statements and more reflective quotes about friendship and perseverance. A faction of viewers expressed sympathy for Kelsey. A smaller, angrier group declared that the house was a place where relationships go to die. The show, when scheduling permitted, aired select moments: a clip of Vince pulling Morgan into a side hug during a nomination ceremony, a confessional where Vince's eyes shone a little too clearly, a montage of their late-night conversations set to slightly melancholy music. The editors knew the arc of a good narrative, and they helped to turn a private emotional strand into serialized entertainment. Ratings ticked up. Sponsors noticed. The moral complexity of it all became a commercial asset. Then came the head-on collision moment. The live feeds leaked a snippet where Vince, pushed during an argument by another houseguest who accused him of betrayal, made a clumsy attempt at absolution. Kelsey wouldn't be mad, he insisted, the words tumbling from him like a plea. "We didn't do anything. It's different in here." The clip was merciless. Fans dissected intonation and body language in ways the human brain was not designed to withstand. Words like excuse and gaslight floated in comment threads. Outside, Kelsey's voice, when she chose to speak, was measured and real. She posted nothing incendiary, no lengthy manifesto. She was a person who, in the face of a very public potential heartbreak, decided to protect the dignity of a long relationship. That restraint made people respect her more, and the sympathy toward her became a shared cultural current. When Kelsey finally wrote a short post, graceful, private, not accusatory. It landed on the feeds like a small, steady lighthouse. Some called it the most mature thing they'd seen in weeks of televised chaos. Inside the house, the game continued to shift. Vince and Morgan's closeness made them a target for those who thought they could flip votes around personal scandal. Yet oddly, some players found themselves admiring the rawness of what Vince had said. In a world of calculated statements, he delivered something uncalculated. The jurors, when eventually assembled, were famously unpredictable. Some respect vulnerability, others punish it. Towards the show's climax, the two found themselves in a position they dreamed about when they first plotted their alliance, sitting near the top of the power structure. Final rounds were approaching. Vince, who had promised Morgan the coveted final 2 dream nights earlier, found that dreams have a price. If he remained loyal to her in the game but had betrayed someone beyond those house walls, how would the crowd judge him? How would he judge himself? When the final eviction loomed, the cameras caught Vince in a rare alone moment with tears on his pillow. He recorded a confessional where he admitted, not for the first time, that he had messed up. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," he said simply. He paused and let it settle. "But I also can't deny how I feel. I don't know what that makes me." The reunion special, televised, crowded with applause and the kind of faux intimacy that follows reality TV stars back into the daylight, was where the private met the public most plainly.